And this generation does not intend to founder in the backwash of the coming age of space. We mean to be a part of it. We mean to lead it. He said because it is there. Well, space is there.
Hello everyone, welcome to episode 8 of The Space Show. I'm your host as always, Nick. Thank you. We're going to be covering the dates April 17th, which was Wednesday, through April 19th, which is today, Friday, 2024. And we have some new changes coming to our episode scheme. I changed a little bit of the layout, so hopefully if you guys like it, I'll keep it in. Leave me a comment what you think of the new layout, or just leave a like, or whatever you do to give me feedback. So before we get straight into anything, I asked you guys a question on my community tab, and I put out a poll asking what your favorite space movie of all time was. And it was actually a pretty close one, because we had The Martian at 51% of the votes. We had Interstellar at 42% of the votes. Very close. I thought Interstellar would probably take this one easily, but I mean, I guess The Martian is a good movie. And while we're at it, let's actually check some of the comments we had. First comment comes in from the Viper 1568. The Viper says, "My other favorite movie is Spaceman. Adam Sandler did an amazing job acting." And I have not personally seen that movie, but you know, if it's Adam Sandler, it can't be that bad, right? And let's check our next comment from Captain Star 910. Captain Star says, "Best is Interstellar without a doubt. Second best is The Martian." I mean, makes sense because, I mean, look at the poll. So tightly contested. And then our last comment of the day from Link8296. Link states, "Interstellar might be the most important, not best movie ever made. And The Martian is my number 2 because it is amazing." I'd like to thank everyone for commenting. If you, anyone out there, want your comment in a video, just leave a comment and it should be able to be featured. I mean, these two people commented and they're all in the videos, so if you want to be in the video, put your opinion in my community polls. I'll probably be posting those close to almost every day, but we'll see how that goes. And let's talk about the layout changes. So my plan for this is to have 4 different categories of news. So we're not having this cluster of unorganized news going from one to the other without really much direction. So the 4 categories I decided on was astrobiology / astrophysics, space discoveries, space technology, and space exploration. Now, each of these categories will have their own kind of segment, including what I deemed the top 3 news of those spans of days that I'm covering the episodes on. So, honestly, I think it should be much more organized and easy to follow because I notice my videos do get a bit long when I have all these stories. It'll keep it a little bit to a minimal. I mean, I'm including the most intriguing, interesting stories. I'll put other stories in the description if you would like to check them out, but I'll have the top 3 in each category. So let me know if you guys like that. Leave a comment. Just let me know because honestly, I think this might help the videos flow a bit better. So without further ado, let's start with the general astronomy and the rockets, and then we'll get into each segment. Now today, Friday, the moon is at apogee, which is the furthest away, so it's going to appear smaller. And then Saturday, we're going to have the conjunction of Jupiter and Uranus. And then we're going to have 136108 Hama at opposition. And then Sunday, Comet 12P Bond-Brooks reaches peak brightness. And then Comet 12P Pond-Brooks passes perihelion, which is the closest distance it can be from the sun. And then Monday, the Lyrid meteor shower 2024. And Messier 101 is going to be well placed. And now some rocket launches. We're going to have the Falcon 9 Block 5 Starlink Group 6 through...
Into full power.
There's ignition.
And liftoff. Go
And
Falcon.
liftoff of Starlink 6-51. Go Internet satellites.
So I'll have those videos running And then upcoming, we have two of them, which we have the Long March 2D. Unknown Payload is going to be Saturday, April 20th at 7:45 p.m. Eastern Time Zone. That's the Falcon 9 Block 5. Starlink groups 6 through 53, and that's going to be Monday, April 22nd at 6:40 p.m. Eastern Time Zone. And, I mean, those are honestly pretty good times, so I'll have the links to the live streams in the description, so when you get a chance, check them out. I mean, they're great launches and everything, so why not? And with that's going to be the general part. So let's get straight into hey, welcome to Astrobiology and Astrophysics segment 1. And without further ado, let's get straight into the top 3 stories from the span of days, the 17th through the 19th. Now, our first story is going to be peptides. Dr. Serge Krasnokutsky and his team from the Max Planck Institute for Astronomy at the university conducted some groundbreaking research on peptide formation in space-like conditions. Previously, it was believed that the presence of water and molecular ice covering the cosmic dust particles would hinder the formation of peptides. Now, peptides are molecules made up of chains of amino acids. Amino acids are, of course, building blocks of proteins, and when amino acids link together through chemical bonds, they form peptides. They can act as signaling molecules, helping cells communicate with each other, and peptides can also serve as hormonals, neurotransmitters, or antibiotics and other functions it could do. However, this was not the case, hindering the formation of peptides. This shows that the peptides can be formed pretty easily, as a lot of dust particles in space contain ice and frozen water. While it did slow down the formation, this does shed light on how life's ingredients could exist beyond Earth. It suggests that building blocks of life may be more widespread in the universe than previously thought. So, the water does not affect the formation of peptides, which shows that there might be a lot of building blocks of life out there that we didn't know previously existed, and it really challenges our previous thoughts. Very cool story. And now, we found the most metal-poor helium star. Using the South African Large Telescope, which is SALT, astronomers found an extreme helium star which was named EC 1952-9-4430, and it turned out to be the most metal-deficient extreme helium star ever. Extreme helium stars are supergiants, which are much larger and hotter than the sun, but not as heavy. These stars pretty much have no hydrogen, which is confusing because hydrogen is the most common element in the universe. These stars have a lot of helium, carbon, nitrogen, and oxygen. This star is about 15,500 light years away from us. And it is very hot as the surface is mostly made of processed helium. Surprisingly, with this one, they found that it was hotter and had lots of nitrogen contained versus not very much carbon and oxygen. Researchers think it probably because when two smaller stars named Helium white dwarfs crashed together 11 billion years ago, they think it will get even hotter and turn into a different kind of star in the future. These are believed to have formed in gas clouds that just lacked hydrogen and in turn had a good amount of these elements. So certain clouds of gas particles could contain some elements and some not. And it just happened that this formation of the star region did not contain any hydrogen, which makes for these helium deficient stars, if you want to call them that, or it could be any element really. And now into subdwarf stars. In a recent study at the Union observatories, they're proposing a new way that massive hot subdwarf stars may form, which can help us explain some of the helium-rich hot subdwarfs. Now, hot subdwarfs are a type of star on the extreme end of the horizontal branch, and the horizontal branch is a stage in the life cycle of certain stars, particularly those in the phase named helium burning phase. During this phase, stars burn helium in their cores after they've finished burning hydrogen, which then makes them hotter and denser, which changes them from red giants to hot subdwarfs. These are supposedly formed when a companion star transfers mass to a white dwarf near the end of its life as a red giant. However, the discovery of a star named SMSS J1920, which is part of a binary system with a hot subdwarf and a white dwarf, doesn't fit this explanation. In response to the discrepancy, researchers proposed a new idea named the asymptotic giant branch AGB channel. It's a type of star in an advanced stage of its life cycle, typically nearing the end of its life. In this new scenario, a hot subdwarf forms when two stars get close, and one sheds its outer layer, creating a common envelope. The hot subdwarf comes from an AGB star, which is different from the stars previously thought to create these hot subdwarfs. This discovery marks a significant shift in our understandings of how hot subdwarfs are formed. Very cool discovery, and that's going to round out this segment. On to the next. Welcome to Space Discoveries. Now, Uranus. It is believed that ice giants like Uranus and Neptune are rich in frozen water, but new studies suggest they could have tons of methane ice. There has been limited exploration of these two planets, as only Voyager 2 has visited them back in the 80s, and astronomers proposed models from the vague understanding, and these old models suggested that the planets have thin hydrogen and helium atmospheres, a layer of also superionic water and ammonia, and plus a rocky core. This new study challenges this, as they ran simulations of the formation of Uranus and Neptune's interior, and these models found methane, and those simulations finding methane matched the planet's features the best out of all the other simulations. This methane discovery helped solve the mystery. It probably formed when hydrogen from the growing planets mixed with carbon in the icy chunks they collected. These chemical reactions happened under extreme heat and pressure, just like the planet's birth. There will be more and more to update on this, but this is a relatively new discovery that methane ice may be just the cause of the planet's births, and a big part of it at that. And now our next story, sun moss. Scientists have discovered a strange feature on the sun that they've nicknamed moss. It's not actually moss like you find on Earth. Instead, it's like a patchy area made of hot plasma in the sun's atomosphere. This moss was first spotted in 1999 during NASA's TRACE mission, and it forms around the center of groups of sunspots, which is where the sun's magnetic fields are strong, and it lies between two layers of the sun's atmosphere. For a long time, scientists couldn't figure out how this material in this mossy region got so incredibly hot, almost 1 million degrees Fahrenheit, when the surface of the sun is just only below 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit. But now, after doing some research using NASA's high-resolution coronal imager and the interface region imaging spectrograph, they think that the electrical currents may be responsible for heating up the moss. In this region, there's a tangle of magnetic lines due to the movement of charged particles, and they create an electrical current. These currents can heat the material to temperature ranging from 10,000 to 1 million degrees Fahrenheit. This local heating in the moss seems to happen alongside heat coming from the superhot coronal layer above. Understanding this can help scientists solve why the sun's outer atmosphere, the corona, is much hotter than its surface. And then our last story, the Aurora. Recently, using James Webb telescopes, astronomers have found methane emission on a brown dwarf. Now, brown dwarfs, again, are just objects that are heavier than planets yet lighter than stars. One named W1935 caught scientists' eyes, and it was discovered by a citizen scientist named Dan Caselden. W1935 has a surface temperature of about 400 degrees Fahrenheit and is estimated between 6 to 35 times the mass of Jupiter. This is the first ever brown dwarf they have studied that has been emitting methane that has actually also glowed in the form of auroras. They found that this brown dwarf has temperature inversion, which means the higher you go up in the planet's atmosphere, the hotter it will be. This could actually be because of the aurora. Here on Earth, auroras usually happen because the high energy particles from the sun interacting with their magnetic field and atmosphere. Yet, this brown dwarf does not even have a host star, which scientists speculate if there could be maybe a moon causing this. Did you guys know that these auroras also happen on Saturn and Jupiter? very cool discovery. And that's gonna bring us to the next one. Space tech. And we're gonna have our story of the day actually in this category. Dragonfly story of the day. NASA has finally been given the go to finally send its Dragonfly rotorcraft to explore Saturn's moon Titan, which is rich in organic compounds. It'll be the first time we're sending a rotorcraft to explore another world beyond Earth. Rotorcraft is basically a flying vehicle that looks and acts more like a drone and has multiple rotors to allow easy maneuverability. This mission has, of course, had some bumps along the way, like having to adjust its budget and schedule to fit with NASA's funding plans, but now, with the President's budget request for 2025, Dragonfly is officially confirmed. It'll cost about $3.35 billion and is set to launch in July 2028. Dragonfly will reach Titan in 2034 and spend time flying around checking out different spots on the moon. We're interested in studying the chemical processes on Titan that may be similar to those on early Earth before life began through its organic-rich atmosphere and surface. Now, for Titan, it's been said that it's definitely not habitable because it's so cold. I mean, freezing. They said that it's not even possible for life to exist, but we're going to see that more into depth as Titan and Earth do share some similar features, which I've discussed. So we're going to see if maybe it actually is habitable and maybe there is some organisms that can survive. And now, our next story is the solar sail. A new mission for testing navigation will be tested in the form of a solar sail, yet not to capture the solar winds, rather the actual sunlight. The Advanced Composite Solar Sail system is targeting launch on Tuesday, April 23rd. This will be launched about 600 miles above the Earth and then using the sunlight to actually navigate it through space. But how? Well, the sail will actually use the momentum of photons to carry itself. What? Photons? This is because when the photons actually hit the reflective surface of the sail, they'll bounce off and transfer momentum. This is pretty low cost and could end up being the new way of navigation for these different things. Of course, when the photons hit off the reflective, it's going to transfer that energy and could, just from the sheer size of that sail, move it pretty fast. I mean, I'm excited to see how this thing actually does and performs. And then finally, we have the Moonquake tool. NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center will be building a new Moonquake detector for astronauts on the Artemis 3 mission to use. NASA selected the Lunar Environment Monitoring Station, which is LEMS, as one of its options. This contains a long-term seismometer which will monitor the moonquakes in the region of the lunar South Pole. This will help us learn about the internal structure and how the moon was actually formed. This is intended to operate from 3 months to 2 years. This will operate during the lunar day and then survive during the cold lunar nights. This will also be brought alongside the Lunar Effects on Agricultural Flora instrument, which is LEAF. That will tell us how plants grow and respond to the lunar environment. Then the Lunar Dielectric Analyzer Instrument, LDA. It is designed to analyze the dielectric properties of the lunar soil. Dielectric properties are just how materials react to electric fields. All these instruments will help us learn how we can really survive on the moon in the future. And I'm excited for these to actually be used and how much we can actually learn about our own moon. I believe it's almost now nearing 60 plus years since we've been to the moon last. And it's coming up soon, so on to the... And we're in our last segment, space exploration. Now, Roman, engineers at the L3 Harris Technologies in New York have finally completed the assembly of all 10 mirrors for NASA's Nancy Grace Roman Space Telescope. These mirrors, known as the Imaging Optics Assembly, IOA, will direct light into the telescope's science instruments, ensuring sharp images of space. This was a long process, I'd say, as these mirrors require extreme precision to be able to take these amazing photos. They will also test the vibration test and acoustic tests to see if it'll be able to handle the vibrations of a launch. And then it will perform a temperature test, as space, of course, as you know, is freezing. This telescope will also look for dark energy, exoplanets, galactic structures, and more, as it covers all the necessary instruments to do so. I'll keep you updated on that, as I heard it's actually gonna launch pretty soon. I mean, they're almost pretty done, they just have a few more tests to do. And then the NICER, NICER, which is a telescope I'm sure has been mentioned tons of times on this channel for its neutron star studies, as well as X-ray events like black holes or quasars. Well, it'll be repaired due to a light leak. What is that? Basically, the solar panel had a leak in protecting it from the sun, and it ended up interfering with the telescope's ability to function and really pull what it needs to from those photos. To address this issue, astronomers plan to install 5 pie-piece shaped wedges into the sunshades above the damaged areas, effectively blocking out the sunlight causing the leaks. NICER has been important, so keeping this telescope in pristine condition is so important to them. And I'm sure we do have a spacewalk for this one, which is actually one of 4 ever for a non-stationary telescope or satellite, whatever you want to call it. So that's going to be really cool. I wonder if they're going to have a video for that one. And Ingenuity. Sadly, the Ingenuity Mars helicopter mission recently came to a close, but not without a proper celebration of its work. Engineers at the NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory gathered for one last time to receive a transmission, marking the end of their work together on this historic project. Even though the mission ended in January, Ingenuity stayed as a communication base for Perseverance, but now Ingenuity will stay as a stationary test bed. It went on 72 flights and passed all expectations. Sadly, its last flight had a hard landing and it damaged its rotor blades, causing its flight ability to be decimated. Now, as a stationary testbed, it will now measure the dust and the weather of Mars, but during the final meeting, the team enjoyed some chocolate cake while receiving the farewell message that named every single person who worked on the mission. We know that Ingenuity was truly one of the goats of Mars. And that's going to be the end of our news segment. Hopefully you guys preferred that to my usual just rambling on with all these different articles and unorganized paradox and all that, but you know, I think it went well. Just leave me a comment if maybe you prefer it this way. Maybe there needs to be another category, but let's get into our last thing of the episode, and that's going to be the photo of the week. And now, the photo I'm going to be choosing is the Twin Jet Nebula taken by the Hubble telescope. And now, I saw this on their Instagram, and I knew that this was the one I had to choose. I mean, just look at this image. I think it's right there. It should be there. But, yeah, that's going to be my photo of the week. And without further ado, I'd like to thank everyone that made it this far. Thank you for watching my video. Thank you everyone who's made it this far and watched my video all the way through. I really appreciate it. Every view makes me happy.
Bruh.
And leave a like if you enjoyed. I'll be back on Monday on the weekend news and everything. And I'll be probably posting some community polls, so if you want to vote in those, maybe get into a video, go ahead and try that out. So, without further ado, remember, be bold, be original, be invincible.